On the year of 1755, the Western world witnessed the birth of someone who will head the greatest revolution in the fields of medicine and chemistry. Samuel Hahnemann was born on April 10, 1755, at Meissen, in Saxony, Germany, as the son of Gottfried Hahnemann and Johanna Christiana. His father was a porcelain painter and never intended for his son to be a physician. But the child Samuel was so bright that inspired his teacher to offer him complimentary lessons to advance his education. To this, his father could not object and allowed him to attend regular classes. At the age of 20, he left to study medicine in Leipzig. By then, he already spoke in 8 languages, which included English, French, Italian, Latin, Greek, Hebrew and Arabic. After a period in Leipzig, where he earns his living by translating scientific works, he moves to the University of Vienna to further his studies. This is one of the most renowned schools of medicine in the Western world, and there he becomes the favorite student of Dr. Quarin, who is a very prominent physician at that time. After that, and still not graduated, he accepts the post of librarian and family physician to the governor of Transylvania at Hermannstadt. Thanks to this, he gets well acquainted with the malarial fevers of Lower Hungary.
You can stop now, Casimiro. We have arrived. Easy, Casimiro, easy.
After some time in this practice, he travels to Erlangen to complete his studies and graduates with honors. He is now 24 years old. Then, he moves to a small place called Hetstadt, then to Dessau, where he meets Henrietta Kuchler, the daughter of an apothecary. Afterwards, he became medical officer of health at Gommen, near Magdeburg, and there, he marries Henrietta and starts a family. But after a 2-year stay, he moves to Polish Dresden, the home of learning and culture. In Dresden, his fame grows among the men of medicine and science, but so does his discontent with the medical system. And he begins to fall in despondency, which increases year after year.
It seems that I am poisoning my patients with these drugs. But there must be a healing principle in medicine. Common sense tells us this.
Then, in the year of 1789, Hahnemann moves his residency back to Leipzig, and suddenly gives up the practice of medicine.
These drugs are not working. What to do? What shall I do? I refuse to practice this medicine, and I will find a better system.
After giving up medicine, Hahnemann goes back to translate medical texts. This is hardly enough to make a living, hence he retires to a nearby village with his family. There in 1790, and while translating William Cullen's Materia Medica, he stumbles onto a fact expressed by the author, which seemed to contradict Hahnemann's own experience, in reference to malaria, and the properties of the Peruvian cinchona bark, which was then widely used to treat malarial disease. This was his Newton and the apple moment.
Oh dear, it seems I have found it.
The next move is obviously to start a series of experiments.
Oh no, wait dear, not that kind of experiment. That would be scary. Yes, indeed.
After a number of experiments, repeated over and over again, he always arrived at the same results. He calls these experiments provings, and these are the first clinical trials ever done in the world. Hence, Samuel Hahnemann is in truth also the inventor of the so-called clinical trials. God has finally given to Western civilization a healing system based on natural law. He was then 35 years old.
Yes, yes, yes. Eureka! Eureka! I found it. I have found the law of similars, the law of healing.
My usual joke about this is that the first time I heard the word homeopathy, I thought it was a sexual disease. It's going too far because I knew barely what was homeopathy, but I am the most classical MD and the most classical scientist and the most rationalistic person you can find.
The structure of water is much more important than the chemical composition.
The structure of water means how its molecules are organized. We can see how water molecules join together into groups. These are called clusters. Scientists came up with the idea that these clusters work as memory cells of a certain sort, in which water recalls the whole history of its relationship with the world as if on magnetic tape.
So, we have seen some theoretical scientific evidences that can be correlated with homeopathy. Now, we will discuss some recent experimental research studies done on homeopathy, which gives the scientific explanation that how the homeopathic medicine works. First of all, the Nobel laureate Dr. Luc Montagnier, a French virologist who claims that the high dilution used in homeopathy, this dilution of something are not nothing, rather they are the water structures which mimic the original molecule. Then we have the direct scientific study from the PhD thesis of our principal Dr. Rajat Chattopadhyay sir along with Professor C.R. Mahata. The study was on molecular level correlation between the indicated homeopathic medicine and biosamples of the patients. Here they checked the structural similarity between the indicated medicinal fluid and the biofluid, that is the blood serum of the patients, by measuring their resonance frequency through a device. And it was found that the beneficial results seen in only those patients whose biofluid frequency was similar to their indicated medicine, and thus governing the law of similia. Next we have the supportive evidence from the aspect of physics through the Professor Papiya Nandi, an Indian physicist. She clarified that due to potentization, the size of the constituent particles decreases and eventually reaches nano dimension. This decrease in size with increase in potency has been verified by scanning electron microscopy. The increase in potency is manifested in its effect on membrane fluidity. The change in potency also leaves its signature on ultraviolet spectra and Raman spectra. Now we have another latest scientific evidence from Professor Jayesh Beller, a researcher and a chemical engineer from IIT Bombay. He has done a physico-chemical study on nanotechnology and homeopathic medicine that shows nanoparticle structure by electron microscopy, and biological studies show hormesis. So the main principle of homeopathic medicine is a very dilute symptom causing substance can cure the disease, and these extreme dilutions are beyond Avogadro's limit, due to which a serious scientific problem arises, that is, what is left in the medicine. And this led to crazy theories like water memory theory and allegations of being placebo science, fraud and even witchcraft. After which homeopathy became the risky field for modern research. Why? Because modern science believes there is nothing in the medicine due to the high dilutions used. So what the modern science wants? To answer us these questions, that is, what is in the medicine, how does it act, for whom does it work? Similarly, these basic questions arises in homeopathy, that is, what is there in the medicine, how did it get there, how does it act? And these basic questions in homeopathy has been answered through physico-chemical studies, process studies through froth flotation, biology at cellular level, subcellular organism and clinical trials. So, for what is there in the medicine? The answer is nanoparticles remains despite dilutions. Now coming to the method of preparation of medicines, we all know the trituration and succussion. But the problem is super Avogadro dilution that arises beyond 12C potency. So to answer this problem, we have the transmission electron microscope, which can visualize the remainings of the starting material of a particular substance even after extreme dilution. For example, the coronavirus can be visualized like this under electron microscope. This transmission electron microscope provides images and electron diffraction. So previously the scientists used to say there is nothing in the diluted medicine, but now under this electron microscope and electron diffraction, homeopathic medicines like natramur in different potencies of 6C, 30, 200 and 1M has been visualized, and the particles of these starting materials are seen. This is the details of the study. Now we have gone from nothing in the medicine to there is material in the medicine, and that material is the starting material of the substance. Now coming to how did it get there? They did the process studies through froth flotation of nanoparticles, and this study is published in the Langmuir. Then again the particle image velocimetry was employed to analyze the fluid motion during succussion and its effects on the nanoparticles. The resulting microstructural and chemical changes at different dilution steps were determined by X-ray, photoelectron spectroscopy and transmission electron microscope. Now we have gone from how did it get there to froth flotation by succussion. The last most important question is how does the homeopathic medicine acts on cell? The answer to this question is hormesis. Now what is hormesis? Hormesis term used by toxicologists to refer a biphasic dose response of a cell and organism to an agent characterized by low dose stimulation or beneficial effect and a high dose inhibitory or toxic effect. So hormesis shows that minute doses stimulates and beneficial to the cells, whereas the high dose are inhibitory and toxic to the cells. This hormesis-like stimulation was observed with argentum, stannum and zinc-based medicine at minute doses. So previously we are not sure of how it acts, but now we have the answer. So the basic questions in homeopathy has been answered. For what is there in the medicine? Nanoparticles of the starting substance made by trituration. And how did it get there? By succussion, froth flotation. How does it act? Hormesis adds
মেডিকেল কলেজ গত 3 দিন যাবত বিভিন্ন অনুষ্ঠানের মাধ্যমে এই অনুষ্ঠান চলছে। এই জন্মজয়ন্তী উদযাপন সপ্তাহে বিভিন্ন সাবজেক্টের যে সেমিনার সিরিজ অফ সেমিনার আয়োজন করা হয়েছে, আজকে তার দ্বিতীয় দিন।
So he gave the idea that infectious disease caused by the microorganisms like bacteria, virus and others. Next is Andreas